There are 650 muscles in the human body, and they all have a purpose. But there are a small handful of those muscles that are critical to us being humans. The gluteus medius is one of those muscles. As humans, we're special in that we balance and do amazing things on just 2 legs. There are actually no other mammals that regularly walk on 2 legs. We're unique in our ability as bipeds to walk, run, do yoga, play pickleball, surf, ski, and move safely, even on slippery surfaces. Well, most of the time. The human body is nothing short of amazing. But why is the gluteus medius critical to our ability to balance? Well, the gluteus medius, also known as glute med, does double duty in our body. It moves your leg out to the side, but most importantly, it keeps your pelvis level. Your pelvis is the foundation of your spine. Keeps it level when you're balancing on just 1 foot, which is about 70% of the time when you're walking and running. When you have rock solid glute medius muscles, it helps you stay out of pain, greatly improves your balance, and brings you closer to becoming your favorite superhero. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 advanced glute medius strengthening exercises to help you on the path to feeling strong and resilient in your back, your hips, and your pelvis. Before I teach you these exercises, I have a couple quick tips. I have 2 other videos on this topic that might really help you if you haven't already seen them. The first goes into more depth about your glute med muscle, gives you a test you can do on yourself at home to assess your glute med strength, and also teaches you 3 good starting exercises. The second video goes over 3 of the easiest glute medius exercises that I know of. They're a good starting place for someone with back, hip, or SI joint pain. You can find those links to these videos up here or down in the video description below. Now let's get started. Before I teach you this deceptively simple exercise, please know that these glute med exercises are no joke. If you're in pain, you should go back and master the exercises from the other 2 videos prior to trying these. None of these exercises should cause you any pain or discomfort. And these exercises might not be appropriate for you, so check in with your doc. Okay, here we go. The side plank is such a great exercise because it doesn't require any equipment. You can do it anywhere. And it's working a whole host of muscles like your oblique and transverse abs, your adductor leg muscles, your shoulder muscles, and your glute medius. I'm going to give you a few different variations that you can try, which will increase the intensity of this exercise as you progress. Let's start with the first variation. Exercise 1 is a side plank. And just know that you can do the side plank off your knee or off of your feet. If you do it off your feet, it's going to be a more difficult exercise, but that's fine. I'm going to start. Variation number 1 is just a side plank done probably like you've seen it in the past. I'm going to show you off my knees. What's important is that you place your elbow underneath your shoulder. You don't want to end up out here or back in here because that can put a lot of stress on your shoulder joint and make it uncomfortable there. Coming off of your knees like this, what I'm going to do is come up, and I want to make sure that my shoulder, my hip, and my knee are all in the same line. And I also don't want to rotate like this to one side. I want to stay upright and square to the floor. I'm going to hold this somewhere around 30 seconds. You can do it for 10 seconds if that's all you can do, and work your way up. Know that any amount of time that you're doing this is actually going to take and help strengthen you. It's helping to strengthen your lower gluteus medius muscles as well as your core muscles, your abductor muscles, your shoulder muscles. So it's really helping to strengthen a lot of things while you do this. I'm going to hang out here. The longer you do it, obviously, the harder it is. But then after you've done the one side, you can relax, and I switch to the other side. I kind of go back and forth for whatever length of time seems like it's challenging. I like to actually do it until I'm shaking a little bit, until I feel that. You want to make sure that you don't dip down here, that you stay upright like that, and always make sure that your shoulder is right over the top of your elbow. So that's variation number 1 of the side plank. Variation number 2, I'll show you on the other side. And what we're going to do here is work both of your gluteus medius muscles at once. How we're going to do that is come up into your side plank variation, and then we're going to take and pick up the upper leg. Don't let this drop as you do that. Make sure you maintain it. And we can either hold this here as an isometric hold, or we can take and move it concentrically back and forth like this. If you do it as a hold, again, make sure that you're just maintaining here and that you don't roll over, that you still maintain good form in your side plank. Variation number 3 of that is simply taking something like a band and putting it around your legs a little bit above your knees. I guess we got 2 knees, right? So what we're going to do, again, is be here, elbow underneath our shoulder, and then we're going to come up. I like to do this one as an isometric hold on the lower side, but also on the upper side. What you can do is internally and externally rotate your hip a little bit, having control around your femur. And again, holding this for as long as you feel like you can until you start to shake, till you feel some fatigability. Muscles get stronger based on us fatiguing them out. So if you're not getting some fatigue and some shaking and things like that, it means that you're not making them stronger. Excellent. This next exercise is a single leg deadlift. And it's actually one of my favorite exercises. This exercise helps us pattern in good hip hinging, which is so important to keeping our lumbar discs healthy. It's a great eccentric lengthening exercise of our hamstrings and our glute max, which really helps us also to not have our back go out, while it's also helping us strengthen our gluteus medius. Additionally, it's great for giving us increased balance, so it's training our balance as we do it. What you're going to do is you're going to take your thumbs and you're going to place them right underneath your lower ribs. And you're going to take your fingers and you're going to place them, your other fingers, and you're going to take and place them right on top of the crest of your hips. You'll feel that bone kind of stick out in the front there. This is to help you so that you don't round in your back or extend in your back as you're doing this exercise. We can't see our back, but we can tell if our fingers are getting closer together or farther apart. So you want to keep your fingers exactly the same distance apart as we do this exercise. Then you're going to take and you're going to stand on one leg. As you do that, don't let one of your hips fall or raise. You want to keep them level. That's part of the balance training, but that's also where we're firing the gluteus medius. We're going to fire that gluteus medius through a range of motion. Here's where we get the added benefits. I pick up the leg. I'm going to take and bend, keeping my fingers the same distance apart, and bring my leg out to the side behind me. And then I'm going to take and slowly come up like this. As you do this, you might be feeling muscles in your feet firing to give you balance, muscles in your ankle. You should be feeling your hamstring because you're bending from your hip. And you'll also feel your glute max firing. Where I really feel this is the gluteus medius opposite you, the viewer. So right here was where I was really feeling that exercise. I'll do it facing you on the other leg. So got my fingers here. I'm going to take and bend forward like this, maintaining my balance, not letting my pelvis drop or come up this way, keeping it level as I go back, and then coming up. Just do this motion slowly. This exercise is more about control and learning balance and lengthening muscles under control. It's more about that than getting in a whole bunch of reps. I like to do 3 sets of 8 or 10 of these, alternating between legs as I do that. Make sure you're keeping your pelvis level as you do this. Don't let one side drop or a hip jut out. And also make sure that your fingers stay at that same dimension so that you are not bending at your low back as you bend over. This would be exactly the wrong thing to do this kind of motion. See that? I'm bending at my spine instead of at my hip. The reason people end up in retirement homes is almost always because of their inability to get in and out of a chair. They can't get on and off the toilet by themselves. They can't get into a chair to put on their shoes and get up without falling and breaking a hip. So if you want to maintain your mobility as you get older, if you want to be an exceptional athlete, it is so important to pattern in moving from your hips and strengthening the muscles that help you to move around those hips. This exercise is fantastic for all of that. This last exercise is a single leg squat. It's on a progression to getting where you could do a pistol squat. And I want to let you know that I've heard said that you should do something every day that challenges you. I want to be honest with you that I'm working towards being able to do a pistol squat, and this is part of my progression, but this is still pretty hard for me. So thank you for your patience. This exercise involves standing on a single leg and balancing with your gluteus medius, but where the last exercise had us standing on one leg, balancing and bending just from our hip, this exercise is actually going to have us bending from our knee and our hip in a motion like this, like you were going to sit down. Because of that, this exercise also works your core muscles and your glute max, which is amazing. And again, it's also patterning in good hip hinging. This exercise becomes more difficult the lower you take it, so just be easy with yourself and see what you can do. To begin, a few guidelines that you really want to pay attention to. Doing exercises improper or sloppy patterns in poor movement patterns. It is worse than not doing the exercise at all. So if you do 5 of these with amazing form, really paying attention to doing it properly, it's way better than doing 50 just haphazardly. So the things I want you to pay attention to. One is that your knee here does not dive in or out. They'll probably have a tendency to want to dive in, but that you keep your knee over the top of your ankle. So I'm standing here. I don't want to do this type of thing, okay? This involves a balance component. The next thing is I want you to really pay attention when you start this exercise to coming back like you were going to sit into a chair. So people can start a squat improperly at their knee. That's what initiating the motion of a squat at your knee looks like. Can also initiate a squat from your hip, which looks like this. What you'll notice in that second version is that my knee stayed mostly above my ankle and my tibia or lower leg stayed vertical. So that being said, you really want to pattern in moving from your hip like you were going to sit down. So to do this exercise, I'm going to stand on one leg, and if you put your leg out in front of you like a pistol squat, that is going to be more difficult. I like to keep my leg kind of parallel to my thighs, parallel to each other, and then coming down and back up just as far as you can go. Like you're sitting down into a chair. We're maintaining our pelvis balanced and level. There, it was a little tough for me. Balanced and level as we do this motion. You can see that as I get down towards my limit, I start to lose the balance with my gluteus medius muscle. That's okay. That's what we're trying to practice here. The most important thing is to have control. Another thing, last thing I want you to pay attention to is that you don't round in your back and that you don't arch in your back. So if you wanted to put your hands here, you could as you do this motion, but we just want to make sure that you are not rounding or arching in your back. Again, coming down into a seated position or a semi-seated position. Can also do this against something like a couch or something where you actually have something to aim towards coming down, not stopping at the bottom, but just touching and then coming back. You'll have to find exactly how many of these feel like they are a good fit for you. Currently, I do about 6 or 8 going from side to side, and I do 3 sets of those. I'll feel pretty burnt out here in my gluteus medius, but I'll also feel it in my glute max here, not as much in my hamstring as I did in that last exercise. I'll also feel a lot of little muscles in my ankle and foot, some up my calf. I'll also feel my core, so this exercise is hitting a lot of different things. Now you've learned how to master strengthening your glute medius muscles, but you might feel like you're being held back from your full potential and still noticing some pain or limitations in your movement. I often find a root cause problem in people's feet that can create pain in remote locations that aren't often thought of related to the feet, like the hip, the SI joint, even the back. Check out this video next, where I go into how we assess if the feet are causing issues and what can be done about it. Until next time, take care.